everyone. My name's GregLeah, and this is Chat for security analysts. So, quick outline for the talk. I'll give a quick intro to GPT, which I'm sure everyone is familiar with at this point. I'll do a brief overview of some of the ways that this tool can be applied to cybersecurity investigations, and then I'll walk through real-world examples. The first one's using open source adversary emulation framework, and then using a live malware sample. So first, a quick disclaimer. I'm an analyst and security researcher. I'm not a data scientist. We're not going to go into the theory behind the technology at all. We're purely talking about applications of this tech. I'll also say I don't work in ethics or policy, so this will be discussed at all. So quickly, a bit about me. Again, my name's GregLeah. I'm the founder and CEO and technical architect at Precision Sec. We are a startup based in Victoria, British Columbia, and we provide threat intelligence and threat hunting services. My background is in malware analysis, reverse engineering, and threat intelligence, with about 15 years in the industry. Okay, so motivation for this talk. This was motivated by a number of conversations I had where, it seemed like everyone had heard of the tool, but not everyone had actually played around with it, which surprised me. And even fewer people are actually familiar with how powerful it is. So just quick show of hands, how many people have actually signed up with OpenAI and tested out ChatGPT? So almost everyone. How many people have actually tried using it in a cybersecurity context? Okay, about half or 60%. Cool. Okay, cool. Yeah, I'd love to hear how everyone's using it later. Hopefully you get a couple of new ideas out of this talk. Okay, so just a quick intro. Again, it looks like everyone's familiar with this tool, but it was created by OpenAI and released in December 22. There are free and paid tiers. The latest version is version 4. It has a conversational interface. You can kind of go back and forth like any chat-based protocol. And there's API access if you want to integrate it into your application. They actually have released a couple of updates in the last few weeks, so I did have to update my presentation a bit. Yeah, so a couple of the big ones here that are relevant to this talk. So previously we had a length limit of input we could put into the system. And so we can only analyze smaller code samples, or we would have to actually chunk the samples or put them into a text file and then upload the text file. So this newest version has increased the input length limits significantly, which makes some code analysis tasks much easier. They've added the browse with Bing function. So also previously, if you asked it a question, it would say, sorry, my training data only goes till 2021. I can only give you answers up till that point. This allows it to kind of query the web and give you a bit more up-to-date data and real-time responses. They've added some additional security, and I'll talk about that, especially around malware analysis and displaying or executing malicious code. And I'll talk a bit more about that. Yeah, they're still struggling with long processing times at times. So like I would love to sit up here and do a live demo, but sometimes it can really stutter and take a while to give you your answer. And yeah, they also introduced a token-based system for payments. So previously, you pay $20 for a premium subscription. Now I believe, and I haven't played around with this because I am a Plus subscriber, but you can buy tokens and use that to pay for your service. Cool. Okay, so relevant updates to this talk are really the data analysis and the DAL-E module. They've created a bunch of new modules, from like, so DALL-E is an image creation tool. Data analysis is for analyzing data. and visualizing it. They've done a whole bunch of other random ones like Laundry Buddies. You find out how to take leather stains out of your white shirt. Tech support advisor. They have like a mocktail creator, so you can create cool cocktails for your alcohol-free party, and lots of other ones. And they've also added the ability to create custom GPTs, which I'll talk about a bit later. Okay, and this is the security thing that I mentioned a second ago. So they've added like strict ethical guidelines around malicious or harmful code. So I was trying to get it to analyze some code in preparation for this talk, and so it gives me this, I'm programmed to follow strict ethical guidelines. There's a possibility that this deobfuscated code represents something malicious or harmful. I won't be able to execute or reveal it. We'll see. Okay, so I did play around with Dolly a little bit, and I wanted to add this at the beginning because this was just released the other day. And so obviously the first thing I did was hacker wearing black hoodie crouched over a keyboard. And I think it did a pretty good job. It's a pretty cool photo. It's a question. Dolly is a module. So there's ChatGPT, and then they've added a bunch of different purpose-based modules, and this is their image creation module. So now you can just say, give me a hacker wearing a hoodie for a keyboard, and it'll create an image for you. So you can really create images, AI created for anything you want to do. I have a couple examples later. Sorry? I believe it's a plus subscription required. Cool. Moving on. Okay. Again, I'm sure everyone's familiar with it. This is the basic interface of ChatGPT. I believe they've removed the message cap on GPT-4. This screenshot was taken a while ago. But note it may produce inaccurate information. This is absolutely something to be aware of when using this tool. And even in preparation for this talk, I've had it give me some correct answers. And I've even had to go as far as like, I know that's wrong. So I'm like, are you sure about this? And it'll actually double down on the wrong answer. So you got to be aware of that if you're using this. Anything else I wanted to say here? Yeah, that's good for that slide. Okay, so this is a basic chat for ChatGPT. This is the type of task that it excels at. Write a 20-minute presentation on how security analysts can use ChatGPT to streamline workflows. You will notice this is not actually the outline for this talk, but we could have used it. Moving on. So we'll move on to security applications. So these are kind of the main areas where I've found the tool to be helpful. And this is definitely not an exhaustive list, but we'll dig into some of these today. So the first is analysis tasks. It's good at code analysis and explaining code, which is helpful for reverse engineering live malware. Threat intelligence is quite good at extracting IOCs from hostile code or from threat intelligence reports. So if you give it, like a paragraph out of an Intel report that had some domains and IPs in it, and just say, hey, give me the IPs or the IOCs from this. It will pull those out. Oh, and so sorry about the acronym, IOC is indicator of compromise. It's kind of a standard term in cyber threat intelligence. Threat hunting, so it's actually quite good at generating basic detection rules for threat hunting. So we'll talk a bit more about this. KQL is the custom query language used for Microsoft Sentinel. Sigma we'll talk about, and Yara we'll also talk about later. And then generating code. So this is one of the real strengths of this tool, code prototyping, automation, and scripting for tasks like generating stub code or writing regular expressions, that type of thing. Okay, so for the example workflow, we're going to use OC2 adversary emulation framework. So I'll just kind of quickly go through a couple slides on how I set this up. This is basically used for pen testers when red teaming and for post exploitation and lateral movement. The reason I chose this is I didn't want to use live malware, and I wanted to be able to control parameters such as command and control, so we could see if it actually accurately gave us the correct data. Okay, so a little more about Potch C2. It's an open source C2 framework used for adversary emulation, written in Python. It's meant to simulate real world attack scenarios where there's been a breach and attacker is using it to move laterally around your network. It's quite easy to configure. This is the other reason I use it. It's quite easy to configure and it generates a variety of payloads. Okay, so just quickly, the installation and configuration. When you install this, the only thing you really need to do is set the payload comms host, and that's going to be your command and control server. I recommend you install this on Kali Linux. It's a bit of a pain to set up elsewhere. Once you set the config, you run posh config in order to set this up, and you set the payload comms host, and that will contain a list of the command and control you want to beacon out to. There's a number of other options you can set. Actually, I think I talked about these here. Yeah, so in addition, you can use domain fronting. You can customize the user agent based on your environment. There's a number of other options you can use, such as Jitter, SOX proxy, that type of stuff, but those are not really relevant to this talk. I did want to point this out. When you set up a Poch C2 server, it uses these default values for the SSL certificate. And these actually cannot be configured using the Posh config tool. You actually have to manually edit these. And I'll show you why. If you're using this in a real world pen testing scenario, I'll show you why this is important. So for anyone not familiar with Odin, it scans and fingerprint services that are running on internet connected machines. And so this is one where you can see it's given us a this is a Poch C2 server that was live at the time of this screenshot. And you can see those SSL certificate parameters are the same as were shown in the config file on the previous slide. So this is super easy to search for on Shodan. So if you use this in a real world engagement, make sure you change those. There's a lot of people looking for these. Cool. Okay, so implant build. So when we run the server using Posh Server, it just automatically creates all the payloads, creates a project folder, and all the out-of-the-box payloads, puts it in your project, and gives you basic instructions. So again, this is why I picked this tool. Generates all the payloads nice and easily, and we can start just copying those into ChatGPT and playing around. I think it builds about 155 different payloads. Your Windows shell code, your Python, PowerShell, pretty much everything. Your batch files, everything you need. Cool. So we're gonna focus on the Python implant for the next few slides. The reason I did this is because it's actually quite small. So this is to get around the length limits of previous versions of ChatGPT. With the newest release, we can actually analyze significantly larger payloads. So this is the Python implant. You can see it does some basic importing Python libraries, and then just executes this giant base 64
On the Microsoft. Thank you for doing that for the data that goods. Um, yeah, so this is the analysis of that code. So pretty standard here, but that's interesting part is so page 10 directory downloads the auto entry executable from this domain. Again, definitely possible. It's also quite easy to reverse models. Like you can't do all. Okay, so not sure if everyone is familiar with crypto Lemus on Twitter. This is a group of researchers who kind of make it their hobby to expose types of malware attacks, publish the information publicly on Twitter. And so another reason I wanted to show this was, this is quite difficult on their tweet where, the malware, they, the infection actor, kind of, seven, and then our page. And if you notice, this is actually precisely where catch that's from that. So actually, page is pretty good. It's one of its usually then see what it's fine. So here's our all, and then she's their man girl and auto three. So for this one, I'm just giving a summary, what are the relevant agencies. So it's pulled them out pretty well. They didn't actually give us.
I think there's interference.
Obviously, string, URL, the file names, and yeah, so these can all be. Okay, so let's move on to the data analysis module. So this is pretty new, and I was really hoping that I could find an example to show you folks. Using the data analysis module, it's typically meant for like uploading spreadsheets and pressing together data, handles to make nice graphs and stuff. But I was really hoping because it's all data analysis, and we'd be able to install that work. I was unsuccessful. For the malware graphic. Right? It's just huge. Yes, pulled out the text capture, upload it into the data analyzer, then extract the ICs and identify any more stuff. So it tried, it gave me this error responding, and then it says, sorry, I need this.
This computer.
The interesting thing is you see the little drop down here on the area of analyzing. If I drop that down, it actually exposes this Python code. And that was the code that it had generated on the fly in order to analyze this. So while it was unsuccessful at actually analyzing this file, it did give us the code to go into it in another set. So yeah, that's the data analysis. And moving on to Dolly, and this is just kind of a fun one. This one, again, it's got released, I think, on the 8th of November. And so I wanted to try to reproduce that infection chain that Palo Alto tweeted out. So draw a flow chart, and we want the following malware infection chain with the PBS, Perl script downloading, and downloading the just data 3 script, and then executing all the way. So the results were interesting. This is what it gave us. There's a lot going on here. It's hard to understand. There's a bunch of typos. Actually, I don't think any of the words on here. Yeah, I don't think any of them are spelled correctly. A lot of like circular logic. Yeah, exactly. Next change for the theme of um, all these tools, generating photos is great. It needs some work for generating our infection flowchart. It actually gave me two versions of this graph. It's right. Okay. Anyway, I do think there's a ton of potential for this tool. But maybe. Yeah, good stuff. Okay, moving on. So I'd be remiss if I didn't talk about custom. This is a feature that I do not have a ton of time player. I obviously had to say something about it in this. So this is these are custom verbs with captions that find instructions abilities for specific purpose. So I guess you can make tailored versions of various things. And I think the laundry buddy example of that. Yeah, so a bunch of people have made so, this is what it looks like. Again, I didn't take any. Say much more than this. Actually been like 50 or 60 cybersecurity related ones that have been released. It seems like everyone is jumping on this bandwagon. Um, so this one caught my interest when I flew past on LinkedIn the other day. So this is a specialized GPT for this AGP threat. So I'm not sure if you folks can read that, hopefully the font's big enough, but yeah, so I was like, okay, let's find out about a random name. So obviously HO stands for bear. It's pretty well known. Russia based. You also know as the- just asking you a basic question, what are the tactics employed by fancy bear or initial access? It's giving me, fishing credential harvesting, spear fishing, clearly custom malware, watering hole. This honestly could be a list of what we need. It at least gives you references. So I think the only difference between this and the regular patch is someone's giving it a specific block. And what you can things not on if you have to hear anyone here, but I haven't really seen. I mean, you said if this for me is for the standard. This is just this stuff on that same query. I
think so, 'cause it's launched.
did want to compare this question to standard GPT before. So this is what I asked. Intel bot for the exact same question, and the answers are really close. You'll know that there's one that so can't really say too much about that, but obviously it's because it is an area for research. This guy, Roger, has created awesome list on GitHub. So this is only a very small subset of what I can feel on the slide. But there's there's a ton of these custom GPTs out there, and then we'll also play with the just go to this page, click on the link, to this tool, and you got it. Okay, so let's wrap up. I did want to leave a good amount of time for questions. Yeah, so in the first part, in about 4 minutes of using the tool, less time than it took to actually present this research. We're able to analyze, extract, write the detection, prototype, monitoring tool, and write it as it's actually a significant amount of time for the security analysts. You can see how this tool can significantly improve the efficiency of cybersecurity analysts and health. And that's my talk. Like I said, I want to leave a lot of time for questions. I hope it's been helpful. I'd love to hear creative ways that other people are using this tool. Feel free to add me on Twitter or LinkedIn and want to talk about threat hunting or threat intelligence. You're welcome to visit the website or drop. Yeah, we do have. Thank you. Sure. So I haven't. Question is, has it ever lost context? So one of them working at has lost context and has it. Hasn't lost context. And in fact, I'll even come back to conversations that I've seen months ago. Is the last one. The answer to that part is no. In terms of pushback, it definitely does. I mean, I guess it'll double down on the wrong. I know that you're wrong here, and so are you sure like, oh, yeah. So then they'll be like, oh, sorry, my mistake. They'll be like, you'll give you some hope. You're like, you get a punch in the air. It's but then with stuff where I'll get a lot of power, the cases wants to, and I'm like, so I haven't good with trying to like watching, but that Hmm. I think that's a bit of a false question. I said we weren't going to talk about. Yeah, sure.
Also, applications you can drop into that. And also drop it to that model. So you can also next step be able to drop.
Yeah, I think yeah, that's an implementation detail that I just don't. Yeah, I think it comes down to an internal policy.
Two questions. First, how often try to listening? Like, so something that just.
Yeah, so hallucinating or giving the wrong answer. There's two different. Okay, thank you. Hallucinating is where it like completely makes something. Like I've seen where it like someone like, hey, tell me about this reverse engineering tool, or give me top 10 reverse engineering tools. And like 8 of them were real and 2 of them were completely fake. And then they went on and said, okay, tell me about, and these are guys who know, right? They're like, tell me more about this fake one. And it's like, oh, it's developed by this company. Like, it's, they're based here, and these are the founders. It's like, oh yeah, this is the happening. Here's the hallucination. Second part, sorry, hallucinating and just playing. Yeah, like playing wrong happens. So,
So the second question, like specifically, we've been trying to use it a little bit. Yeah. Great.
yeah,
Some of us are.
yeah, learning for sure.
What we found out is always get one from variable with the it's that it's not that it's before or
No, I think it's really like it almost never gets it right on the first try. But if you could be like, hey, I want to use this table, and then you can start it's iterative, right? Like it's never gonna get right on the first time. It's like, hey, I got this error. Hey, I want to use this. And the next time you go back and eventually get pretty close to where you need to be. Uh, that's
Of course.
I barely use the best of it's like that example I know is it's but that's an interesting one. Yeah, it's
Like, we respond. It's like, oh,
yeah. And so I think it's like this looks malicious. It's like I can see there's a replace motion here. But no, actually, so I saw the shell execute. Like, just tell me what this path does. It's like, oh, it looks like it's this string. what's the strength? And then it's like, well, it looks like it's, used to replace function. I'm like, okay, maybe like the replace function. And so eventually after, it's not like you can't like, I have no idea what this does and everything. You have to, this is ChatGPT, you have to have some knowledge of what you're doing in order to understand the output and actually, and, and there's definitely some techniques like doing this. I haven't tried that, but I heard it work. Yeah, yeah. Yeah, and then another one was actually it's something along, would only be able to give you this answer if it was to like defend a network. I'm like, we're using this to defend our network. We should know if the script was active. Yeah, like yeah, and actually when that was when it went okay. So I've not played with the API, but I 20 is the last question. Okay. I've not tried that. I've heard that it's quite good batch. I believe use it for else and voting, but I have heard it's quite good. Again, if you want to check your work, it might give you a really good start for these systems.
Pretty much maybe 64 encoded delicious scripts, but they've been layers of computation. And that you feel like variable is in this array, this array's out of order. End of it, very it's pretty good. But
It doesn't involve for the most part. Okay, thank you. Thank you.